So learning target 10, checking out ionic bonds. The very first thing I always like to start with ionic bonds is this right here, the word ion. We have to remember what an ion is because we can't create an ionic bond without one. An ion is an atom that has gained or lost electrons. And because of that gaining and losing of electrons, we're ending up with different charges for that ion. So gaining electrons creates a negative charge, and losing electrons creates a positive charge. And we have to remember what we're gaining or losing, right? We're taking in more electrons, more negative particles. That creates that negative charge. Same thing here, losing electrons, we're giving away negatives. So that gives us more protons or more positives. And you might remember our little hint word is pimples, right? Gaining pimples gives you negative feeling. Losing pimples gives you that positive feeling. Okay, so we have this idea of ions. The whole idea of ionic bonding then is that opposites attract, right? We end up with an ionic bond of positive particles and negative particles coming together, being attracted to each other, and bonding into one new element. So to do that, we need to start with our traditional Lewis dot diagram. So let's do a little bond action here. Sodium, looking at the periodic table, is Lewis dot 1, or group 1. Chlorine, looking at the periodic table, is Lewis dot 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, making sure I go all the way around and hit every side before I start to double up, because that gives me a clear view here that we are missing an electron. And because I have one element that wants to lose and one element that wants to gain, an ionic bond is sure to happen. This sodium is going to transfer, that's our key word here, transfer its electron from the sodium to the chlorine right into that specific location. So now the chlorine becomes full, as does the sodium. This is where our ions come in. Because the sodium lost 1, it now has a new charge of 1 plus. The chlorine gained 1, now has a new charge of 1 minus. And if these charges balance out, we can now finalize the bond by pushing the two elements together. They are now bonded as NaCl. And as we've done a bunch of these bonds, we started to see some patterns, right? We're always going to have one gain and one lose. And we're going to notice those gaining elements and losing elements are coming from the same categories every time. The elements that like to gain are from that non-metal category on the periodic table, and elements that like to lose are the metal category on the periodic table. So we're seeing them from both sides coming together and creating this ionic bond by one gaining, one losing, creating these opposite charges that attract and transferring those electrons. So looking at the learning target here, we want to share that information by giving some details about ionic bond and then showing a bond down here at the bottom. So you've got a good amount of must-use words to get put into your explanation, right? Use at least once in your explanation and highlight them once they're there. So what's happening in an ionic bond? What do metals like to do? Non-metals, what do they like to do? Think about gain or lose. And then what is their charge going to be? So get that added in there. And then down here, you're doing a bond of barium and chlorine. So just start out with your two elements like we did below. get your Lewis dot, show the charges, and the number for the ion, right? And then give the name of the new element.